Hi, I'm Martin Pierce from C2S, and I'm going to give you an overview now or demonstration of ABBYY FlexiCapture 11 for invoices, fully linked to the account system Kashflow. So this is FlexiCapture. It's a Windows desktop program. It also runs as a networked edition if you want that. And basically the user has four things to do: load images, or it could be scan them. So if you've got a desktop scanner attached to your PC, then you can scan invoices, recognize them, verify them, and export. So if you're loading, you might put all of your invoices into a specific folder and then just select them and load them. Alternatively, as say, you can scan them. I've got 6 here that are ready to go, so I'm going to hit the recognize button. So out of those 6 invoices, I can see 3 from Essential Mail are saying that they're ready for export. I've got one which is telling me that this invoice has already been processed. So we have a safety net built in, so you can't process the same invoice twice unless you override it. And I have 2 here saying that the invoice date is required. Now I know that Kingsdown is a new supplier for some of our printing, so that makes sense. We haven't seen these invoices before. So let's have a look. Let's double click into one of these and let's have a look at what it's all about. So over on the left hand side here I have the image of the invoice, and I can zoom in if I want to. That's at 100%. I'll expand out to full size so it's a little bit easier, and I'm going to go in at 150% on this invoice. Okay, so on the right hand side here we have the company that's been invoiced, which is our company, Click Scan Limited. We have the supplier, and we have a full link into Kashflow. So we synchronize with the suppliers in Kashflow, so it's recognized correctly that the company that's invoiced us is Kingsdown. It's found the invoice number, which is correct, but it hasn't found the invoice date. So what I'm going to do is draw around the invoice date, and it's converted it, so it's now 12th of 2nd 2015. There wasn't an order number with this one, so I don't need to train that. And there's a narrative, and it hasn't picked up a narrative, so what I'm going to do is just draw around that text there. So I now have some narrative in there as well. What you'll notice is the blue training button has come on now, so I can click that, and what it will do is lock some of those coordinates in place for the narrative and for the date, and link them to the Kingsdown suppliers. So we've never seen this supplier before. I've got one more warning left down here saying that there's no purchase order, so you need to choose a nominal. So if I click the drop down there, that is a nominal with direct lookup into our Kashflow. So I'm going to put it against printing, postage and stationery. We don't use cost centers, department IDs, because it's not a purchase order. I have no result or PO value here. If I expand down, I've got some other fields. I've got the due date, which if I don't populate it, it will just add 30 days on. I've got the total amount, the currency, and if I expand the tax analysis, you'll see that it's picked up the net, the VAT and the rate. So this invoice now, if I click the save button, it will now go to export. It's ready for export. If I go into the other one, I'm going to do exactly the same because it's the same supplier. I'm going to highlight the date again. I'm going to highlight the narrative. It is a separate invoice. And I'm going to go down and choose printing, postage and stationery again. Okay, and that'll, no other errors, hit the train button. Okay, now the training, once you've trained the same supplier 3 times, then you can lock those changes in place. So for example, when I go into Essential Mail, this invoice is all perfect, apart from the fact that I haven't chosen a nominal code. So I need to choose a nominal for these people, which is printing again. We've had a print run, and these guys have been involved in organizing that for me. So I'm going to click the arrow forward and go on to the next one. This one is copyright, so I'm going to put that as marketing. Now you might be thinking, crikey, I want this automated, so I don't have to choose the nominal code. That's absolutely fine. We can pull down the default nominal that you store in Kashflow. We can pull that down anyway. I just happen to prefer it to choose it every single time, so I don't put it against the wrong thing. And things like the narrative and the order number, we can find those on the page automatically anyway, but I haven't set it up on this particular supplier, so I'm going to train that one as well actually, so I might be able to pick that up again next time round. I've got one more to do for Essential Mail, and what's this? This is email again, so I'm going to choose marketing, and I'm going to highlight that narrative as well and train that again. So that's taking a long time. I know that we've done at least 3 of these Essential Mail invoices. I'm going to show you what that looks like behind the scenes. Now this is an interesting one. I've got an invoice from Canon UK. I've got an order number of 8169, and what it's doing, it's done a lookup and it's telling me down here that the PO value should be £21.53, but it's also saying you've already processed this one. So it's like, okay, fine. If that's the case, I probably have, so I can leave that one out. Now if I go and look behind the scenes and show you the training batches, these are all my suppliers I've seen before. So if I was to go into Essential Mail, I've got 3 copies of that one, so I can right click and train that, and the next time I see an Essential Mail invoice, it will pick up that narrative, it will pick up the any other changes that I've changed, which is quite nice. So if I go back to working batches, and now what I want to do is I want to export those invoices into Kashflow, and I'm going to do that now by hitting the export button. Now we have one error there, and I reckon I know what that is. I've probably got too many lines in my narrative. I think Kashflow can only take a certain amount of narrative from us, so I'm going to change that, because that again gives you an example of how we can't push rubbish into Kashflow. It will authenticate it. I hit the export button again. It's gone through that time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up Kashflow and we'll have a look at that. So we're looking for an invoice from Kingsdown. So I've just dragged my Kashflow over to you so I can show you that those invoices have come through. So we've got 3 for Essential Mail, 462, 111 and 5760, and we can see that we've got those. If we go into, well, we can in fact see the invoice numbers there, and we've got the 2 invoices from Kingsdown as well that we exported. So if I go into the detail of one of those and look at it, that's the narrative I dragged over. There's the net, the VAT, the gross. If we click edit on this, you can have a look. Yes, it's at marketing, which is what I set it to. So very simply, what we're doing with this FlexiCapture program is we are interacting with Kashflow. We're exporting the documents into Kashflow. The PDF of the invoice, I happen to put it into our document management system called File Director, but we can save a copy of it into Dropbox if you want us to, or somewhere else, you know, in a named convention. But if I was to go into purchases now and search for Kingsdown and then click the search button, we should have those 2 invoices which we've just sent in. So there they are. So I sent them into our document management system fully indexed, with the invoice number, the supplier, and the date and the amount of the invoice as well. So there we go. That's an example of how powerful this software is. It's incredibly easy to use. If we did have a genuine purchase order that hadn't been processed already, we would just update it rather than sort of put it in there a second time. So it's fully integrated like that. So yeah, I hope that's been of use, and feel free to contact us with any questions you might have.